1 Timothy chapter number 1, in verse 13, Paul says this of his past life, who was before a blasphemer and a persecutor and injurious. That is, one who reveled in extremely offensive acts committed upon another. He said, that was my life. And so in 1 Corinthians 15, when he says, I'm the least, and I'm born out of due time, and I'm not even worthy to be called because I persecuted the church of God. What he's saying is, if you looked at my entire life, if you added up all of my accomplishments, I'm not worthy to be what I am today. Yet somehow, I have to put myself as a witness for Christ. Yet somehow, by extraordinary means, I am an apostle. Yet by some drastic event, I am an eyewitness that Jesus Christ is risen. And you can look at the first 30 to 35 years of my life. I wasn't on the path to apostleship. Peter spent more time with Jesus, and I blasphemed Jesus. James grew up with Jesus. I grew up hating Jesus. John helped build the church, and I spent all of my time trying to kill the church. Yet as I list for you all of the key witnesses that anchor the doctrine of the resurrection, I have no choice but to include myself. And if you're someone who knew Paul's past life, you would sit and you would say, Paul, how can you add yourself in a list with James and Peter? How can you add yourself? Shouldn't someone who did the things we just read, shouldn't there, in our day and age, they'd have been canceled? You got no platform, you got no voice. Should not his testimony be stricken from the record after everything that he's done? Wouldn't one say, no, Paul, you are actually an uncredible witness? Wouldn't it be easy to say that we could find a multitude of people who could assault the character of Paul and cripple all veracity by which he stands and testifies of the resurrection? When you read all of Acts and Galatians and Timothy, at the end of verse number 9, you come away and you say, hey, you've got no right to be on the list of witnesses. You are right. You're not fit. You should be an outcast. You should be done. You should have no voice and no influence. And so then Paul comes out with the greatest and maybe the only 11 words that could ever justify his existence as an apostle and as a child of God and as a preacher. It is this: but by the grace of God, I am what I am. Church, I want you to understand, he says, but, meaning, hey, I know I just levied some pretty heavy truths about myself. I'm not fit, I'm not qualified, and I've got a past that I'm ashamed of. But let me contrast that with my present reality, the grace of God. Understand when it says by grace is the means for the current reality. He's saying this. He didn't say I had to cooperate with grace. He didn't say I had to come to agreement with grace. He didn't say he had to accept grace. He said by the grace of God, meaning grace is the force that accomplishes everything. And so he says by grace of God, that is the source of the means. The source of the grace came from God. And he puts it together. And he says this: by the grace of God, I am what I am. Every ability I have to testify of Christ is by grace. Every sermon that I can preach is by grace. Every doctrine that I write is by grace. Every accomplishment that I meet is solely of grace. Not my ability and not my talent and not my mind and not my performance. No, it is the grace of God. Church, we've got to understand the totality of that statement. By the grace of God, I am what I am.